You're watching Reality Check, This Week in Rewind. Welcome to Reality Check, This Week in Rewind. I'm your host, Quinniee B, and we're going to go ahead and call today's episode our unpacking episode. Why? Because we have so much to cover. We have to talk about Porsha's having a baby, her baby special on Bravo TV. We have to talk about the season premiere of The Real Housewives of Potomac. We have to talk about Little Women Atlanta. We have to talk about Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. We have to touch on the Braxton family values. Just so much to cover today. So let's get started. We're going to start with episode 2 of Porsha's baby special. And so we know that after this one, we have one more left. So I can't wait to see how Bravo ties this up. So we open episode 2 with Dennis making Porsha a healthy breakfast, whatever that means. I'm thinking that it wasn't healthy because there was bacon on it. I really hope that's not the case, because now she ain't no peach if she don't like bacon. But this is also probably the first time that I realized that all the photos that are on the floor in Porsha's home are photos from the maternity shoot that we've already seen at the baby shower. I was like, oh girl, this is kind of looking like a shrine. Anyway, I digress. The kitchen scene is super cute, super sweet, shows them as a very comfortable and developed couple, which, you know, we love to see Black love thrive. But more importantly, we learned that they are interviewing for nannies today, which is a interesting experience all in itself. And so Lauren, of course, has coordinated everything, narrowed down the people, and these were her top picks. This is probably the only time that Mama Gina is going to be encouraged to share her opinion, as Porsha requested her to do there. So when the interview is all said and done, Porsha wants the older woman that gives those matronly vibes, while Dennis wants the cute, you know, she's like probably in college. She was a cute young lady, but of course he wants something cute. And Porsha handled that with class. Like she did not get jealous. She wasn't like, oh, what you want that for? She kept it lighthearted. We get home and Dennis is actually trying to put the car seat in the back seat of the car. And it's pretty funny because he's really struggling, but it just shows like the struggle of prepping for a baby. And Porsha comes outside to join him. And he wants to talk about this house again. And Porsha's just like, no, I don't want to talk about this house. Like, did you retract the offer? And if you love the house so much, you want me to go back and see it so much, you go see it by yourself and don't take your mama. Bravo is kind of highlighting that there's a little bit of tension, I would say, between Porsha and Mama Gina that we actually may not have gotten on film, or we just haven't been able to see it as of yet. And speaking of Mama Gina, she comes over to see the nursery, which I guess had just been completed because Porsha said she had just been struggling all night to not go into it. Let's talk about this nursery. Did you guys like it? I didn't like it. I felt like it was not jovial enough. It had actually nothing to do with the walls being black. This nursery has black walls with the lighting that changes colors, like club lighting. It's very lounge clubby, which is why I don't like it. So back to Mama Gina. After they show her the nursery and she and Porsha sit down and get settled, they kind of end up sending Dennis out of the room to go grab something. And Mama Gina doesn't waste any time getting down to it, okay? When y'all gonna get married? How are y'all coming along with that prenup? Why you gotta wait until you have the baby to get married? Why don't you just get married right now? Mama Gina is just socking it to Porsha left and right. And I will give it to Porsha. She handles it with class. I mean, she's just very much like, this is our timeline. This is what we want to do. And there's no one way to skin a cat. She does not give Mama Gina the reaction that she wants. She's not sweating. She doesn't appear to be worked up. She's just very much like, I would prefer it if I was able to keep you and my mom out of our business, because we are a new couple. We are figuring it out. And it's really none of your business. I mean, and clearly Dennis has been filling Mama Gina in, and Porsha is not happy. But Porsha goes, all right, well, I'm going to go to bed now. And she just goes to bed and tells Dennis, you need to go let your mom out. But before he can even let his mom out, they are already discussing it in their bedroom, because she is bothered, right? She is feeling a little disrespected. His mom is overstepping her boundaries. And I can't recall if it's Dennis or someone else that makes the comment that his mom is traditional. And so it's just like, well, what is traditional? Like, what does marriage have to do with it? Because people get married and get divorced all the time. So, anyway, not my place, but I didn't understand why that line of questioning when she's that far along. She's 9 months pregnant. You think she wants to go have a shotgun wedding? And it's Porsha. Do you remember the baby shower? Absolutely not. In the next scene, we get to see Porsha and Lauren go over to visit Shamia, who is one of Porsha's close friends that we've seen on Real Housewives of Atlanta that has just had a baby as well. So they get to having girl talk, which is, you know, cool. And they talk about Shamia being like the hostess with the mostest because she has all these little chocolate monkeys and stuff. But as she says, she has a lot of time on her hands right now. So they're over there having girl talk so that they can discuss, you know, Mama Gina's line of questioning. And also, Porsha shares that Dennis is completely moved in. Which, was that what that was? Completely moved in? All those boxes and stuff that we saw everywhere? I mean, I know that they got several gifts, but that was a lot. So if that's completely moved in, whew. But they announced that Dennis is completely moved in, and so they celebrate and they go, congratulations, Porsha, because it does show growth. There's only really a few more things worth mentioning in this episode, so I'll just skip right to that. One thing is we find out that Porsha's pregnancy craving is applesauce and blue Gatorade. Ugh, I mean, it just sounds, yeah, I don't get it. 2 is that PJ Pilar is named after one of Dennis's ex-girlfriends. I mean, which I'm sure that's a joke. But I would think that as soon as she heard that it was named that Pilar was the name of one of his ex-girlfriends, she would want to move on. And she was just like, I don't care. So that's important fact number 2. 3, Dennis and Porsha go to counseling. And this is where we see them with Dr. Sherry, of course, Bravo TV's relationship specialist, right? I think they only have 2 relationship counselors. Anyway. But so this is where all of their dirty laundry comes out, because what starts off as a simple conversation about Dennis putting in the offer on the house quickly turns into, well, you don't know how to compromise. They discussed the rental agreement. This is our first time officially hearing about a rental agreement and the deed and all this other information. So that is just where they spilled the beans, honey. And Dr. Sherry asked one question that I thought was important during counseling, which was, when was Dennis actually going to speak up for himself? Because even I got the vibe this episode that Dennis is just a man of few words. He just is easy to please, doesn't have an opinion about a lot of things. And so I was just wondering, like, but you can't just go with the flow on everything. And to me, that seemed like all the ammunition that Dennis needed to unload on Porsha in the car. And that I found to be pretty interesting. I also didn't like it. So a question would be, is Mama Gina overstepping? How should Dennis actually handle that? Because although he was polite last time, we see that Mama Gina is just going to insert herself regardless of her son's wishes. So how should Porsha handle Mama Gina? And then also, was Dennis right to just kind of flip out in the car? And I'm not saying that like it got violent or anything. However, we've never heard Dennis speak with this much aggression. Is he a pushover? Was that just him becoming frustrated or just over it? What do you think? So now let's talk about my other favorite housewives, the Real Housewives of Potomac. They are back, and honey, they are bringing all of the drama. Okay? So how do we feel about the taglines this season? Nothing really seems super memorable. I mean, I could do with or without them. Tell me what you think. Which one's your favorite? Here we are at Giselle's home where she's baking cookies with her kids. She hopes to win Karen Huger's friendship, or at least start back on that path with these cookies. But I'm just going to go ahead and say this. The Grand Dame is not having it, okay? The Grand Dame has actually gotten her perfume in stores, and so we're kind of seeing her being bossy with that, and she just has no time to be bothered with Giselle. All she needs is Matt, which is her friend of 20 years, she says, but ooh, child, Matt looks like he's barely 20 years. And then we cut to Michael and Ashley, and I want to know, why did Bravo torture us like that? Who actually wanted to see that? Raise your hand. I mean, I'm happy that she loves him. I didn't ask for all of that, okay? So we open with Ashley and Michael having, I guess, sexy time. And it is just, it's not a thing, okay? Just next. But one thing that's for sure that Bravo made sure to do was cut to all that shady footage about Michael being charged with felony sexual assault. I was like, Now, that's what they should have shown us more of. They could have cut all of that canoodling and stuff out, honey. But Bravo is letting us know that we got a lot in store for you this season. And it is 1 week until Candace's wedding. And so she has her own 29-point checklist. We are over at the home that she shares with her mom. And they are talking about this brother, this half-brother, this love child that her father fathered during his relationship with her mother. And we find out that this is a huge area of strain for Candace because her mother does not want her speaking to this child or anything, which I just think is crazy. Like, why are we blaming the child? But her mom needs to grow up. We already know this. And Candace just kind of flat out says it in her confessional that her mom, knows how to get to her because she pulls the purse strings. And so Candace is just super frustrated. But I think the only real solution there is you got to move out and get your own and really become independent. And I mean, I get it. It's hard to do. Also, can we back up for a second and talk about the Grand Dame? I completely forgot to talk about, honey, how she still has this list that all of them need to apologize to her. And why? Honey, she is worse than Santa. She done made her list and she has definitely checked it more than twice. But where were we? Over at a very pregnant Monique Samuel's house, we're seeing a conversation between a husband and a wife where the husband is just not holding any punches back with his wife. So they are actually discussing what went down between Monique, Giselle, and Sherman and Bravo cuts to the flashback, but where Monique was talking about Sherman had gotten a ticket for, I guess, something along the lines of soliciting a prostitute or something like that. And she admitted that Sherman ended up being collateral damage, but Sherman is actually a very nice guy, and she should have thought about that, and pretty much just how it brought her out of her character. And Chris he cut straight to it. He was like, you need to apologize. And she was just like, I will. I'm going to apologize to both of them. But it's good to see that they really are like friends outside of just being married and the camaraderie, and that they actually do talk about things and that he doesn't just side with her because she's his wife. That's very refreshing to see. And then last but not least, we're over at Robin's and we are just seeing that she and Juan are happy and they've made a lot of progress, and there's really not much to report back there. And so the one question that I do have for this episode is, do you think the Grand Dame has had some work done? She is looking fabulous, honey. And what are your thoughts about the first episode? Was it a good season opener? What do you want to see more of? And at this point, who can go? I mean, it's already the first episode, but I'm sure you already know who you don't want there. Let me know. All right. So now on to T.I. and Tiny, Friends and Family Hustle. We are on episode 4. And so let's just do a really quick recap of what it's been up until this point, and that is that Monica's granddad is battling cancer, and so we get to see how that is impacting her and her children's lives. We get to see LaToya Luckett become a new mom, and she's trying to work out and maintain her marriage and also get prepared to go back and work on Greenleaf. Toya Wright is releasing a children's book, and we also just get to see her enjoy her 1-year-old daughter and her relationship develop as well. Tiny and T.I. prepare to live together again. So he's been preparing the house for her return because everything was black. And like all the walls were black and everything was black. And so, I guess she wants a womanly touch because it definitely looked like a bachelor pad. At this point, we've also learned about Tiny's new business venture, which is coming up with her alter ego with an image and music and all these things for her alter ego because she wants to reserve Tiny for escape. So we've now been introduced to Ryder. And episode 3 left off with T.I.'s sister Precious being in an accident. And so episode 4 opens and we find out that she's transitioned. And we get more details on that, and we just kind of get to see T.I. and Tiny just be there and support one another. And what I like about this opening scene with T.I. and Tiny is that we get to see them really support each other and really be a family, which I think is something that we don't get to see a lot of because now it's the friends and family hustle. And so while T.I. and Tiny are working through or coping with the death of his sister, we get to see Toya and LaToya go and get a vaginal steam done because now LaToya cannot wait to make love to her husband. Okay, she she knows like the very last day that they stopped having sex. So she is on the countdown. She's trying to make sure that everything is tight and right for her man. But so while they're doing these vaginal steams, they decide to have a little girl talk. And Toya gets to talk about Regine and Lucci. Can somebody tell me a song that Lucci put out? I'll Google it. It's fine. But so they kind of talk about their relationship because Toya just doesn't like some of the things that she's seeing on social media. But, you know, she's a mama bear. She's lived. So they decide to call Monica because they always are torturing her with all of their crazy, outlandish ideas. And Monica is just like, it tightened itself. Monica is somebody's mama. It is hilarious. Those flashbacks that they put in there, so good. Like, TV gold for sure. They call Monica and they invite her out to a couples night or a double date type situation. And Monica said that she'll be recording all week, so she won't be able to go. At this point, we know that she's filed for divorce from Shannon Brown. And so it just makes you kind of go like, well, is that the only reason why you guys couldn't make it? But it's really none of our business. But wait, let's back it up. You can say coochie on TV? I mean, because it was a lot of... They said coochie a lot in that one clip. Like, since when? But this episode was kind of a slow episode because we got to see LaToya and her husband finally do the deed, which VH1 is shady for this, talking about 6 minutes and 30 seconds later. That was shady. Okay? We get to see Tiny prepare to ramp up with Ryder. And so now that she's gotten approval from one of her bandmates, she's ready to do this alter ego photo shoot with a well-known Atlanta photographer, Derek Blanks. He, as she said, he is known for these things, but I also remember when he photoshopped out Trina's knee in her alter ego photo shoot. Another scene that I thought that was important was when Regine and Beatty and Toya were talking, and they were talking about like being possessive and talking like that on social media and how they didn't like it. Like, do you guys think that they were overreacting or were they valid? Because I mean, I definitely saw both sides of the spectrum, but I still think that you have to let Regine make her own mistakes. And then they close the episode with a tribute to Precious, where we get to see her daughter and her mother. And it's beautiful. It really is. It was tastefully done. And still my condolences. All right. And so now let's just go ahead and jump right into it and talk about Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, which, can we start off by saying, can you believe how many cast members there are at this point? The storylines are so convoluted, like it's barely even believable. But so we have Carly Red and Arkansas Mo, who are engaged. They were trying to have a baby. He found out he might have, a child that he didn't know about, but Carly doesn't give him the opportunity to find out. Which, was she right? Did she jump to conclusions? I mean, because she never brings up the text messages to him verbatim. She just says, you just weren't going to tell me. So either that's the only thing that she has to go on and she's looking for a way out, or there's something that she's just afraid to divulge on camera. Did she overreact? There's Scrap, Moniece, Tommy, Tierra, and then, his mom and his brother. Scrap is fresh out of jail and was stringing all of these ladies along, okay? Super playboy. Moniece is upset because, she's fallen for him. At this point, he's just playing with her time. There's Tommy, who we don't see because she's no longer on the show, but clearly she is his kryptonite. And then there's Tierra, Scrap's baby mama, who I guess he was stringing on while he was in jail. We can go ahead and knock these two out really quickly because we already know their storylines, but there's Mimi, Stevie, and Faith Evans, who we know Stevie J was talking about asking Eva, did she want to come live with him? And she was like, no, I think I'm good on that. So that's their storyline. And then we also have Rashida and Kirk. And so we know that the healing of their marriage and bringing their family together is going to be their storyline this season. We have Spice and her whiteface situation, which, let me say this. I think that the only reality TV show, channel, or mogul that really has this whole thing down is Bravo TV. And I say that because the Real Housewives of Atlanta are still filming while the show is airing. So the storylines or what happens that season never really gets too stale because it doesn't get an opportunity to do so. Versus here, like, we already knew about Spice's whiteface controversy last summer. It's about to be summer 2019 and we're just now seeing it. But I digress. All right. We have Spice and her white face. Next, we have Sierra, that's the owner of the glam shop, and Tokyo Vanity getting into it because Sierra wants Tokyo to lose weight or wants to try to encourage her to lose weight. So we kind of get to see a rift in their friendship. That's a storyline this season. We have Akbar, who is an Atlanta rapper who is Candy's cousin, who, so much who. She is trying to take her career to that next level, as well as get all 5 of her kids back because they're living with different family members while she figured out her living arrangements. She's also the one that's going back and telling Moniece, and she's kind of caught in the middle of Moniece and Tiara and kind of filling them in on the scrap drama. Just a lot. Okay, so she's a new cast member. And then there's Shay Mack, who's an old cast member who's come back with this vendetta against Carly Red. Whatever. There's Pooh, who was Carly's former friend, who has teamed up with Shay Mack on this vendetta against Carly. Next, there's also this Jock and Keisha storyline, which we have never met Keisha before, so this is news to us. And I'm just like, has she never watched an episode of Love and Hip Hop? Has she not known about the Carly Red Young Jock thing? Like, anyway, we'll get to that. So there's that storyline. And then the one storyline that I really, really have enjoyed this season is The Bam, Scrappy, and Mama D, because the mother-in-laws living together and all that was hilarious. Okay, I mean, and it looks super staged, especially with Mama D just meeting this lady out here. What was that, at the Super 8, something like that? Yeah, that just felt super staged, but I enjoyed every staged minute of it. Okay. And so the theme of this episode picks up right where they left off on the last episode, which is Rashida and Kirk are having this cabin retreat, and so they want to invite all the couples out. So the couples are Sierra and BK, Carly Red and Arkansas Mo, and Jock and Keisha. And so on this bus ride, we find out that Keisha and Jock have been dating for 2 years. Carly, spread some of her and Jock's past messiness. The ride is interesting, and it creates a tense environment at the house because Carly is not only telling Jock's business, she tells BK's business that Pooh texted her, and this text message is like 6 months old. I personally don't know how people have 6-month-old text messages in their phone, but so the info that Carly shares on this bus ride is enough to get BK banned from the bedroom. He had to sleep on the couch. We got Keisha calling Jock by his full name, honey, calling him out the room. They need to talk. Like, Carly is stirring the drama, and they ain't even got off the bus yet. Okay, but while this cabin trip is going down and these couples are working through their issues, back in Atlanta, we got Akbar and Moniece meeting up to discuss why Akbar can't show up for these studio sessions that Moniece's money is paying for. And it creates an interesting dynamic only because we find out that Akbar has an issue with Tokyo Vanity. Now, I ain't gonna lie. I did like Akbar's line about, y'all flew here, I grew here. I like that. But I'm just like, that can't be the reason why you have an issue with her. Back at the cabin, Carly Red shares that she is studying to be a sex therapist, so she brings sex toys. Raise your hand if you're going to go to Carly for sex therapy. Was Kirk being messy talking about that whole Indian style technique? Because how he gonna bring that up from the radio with Jock and Keisha being right there? Keisha and Jock clear the air, and then Jock makes a comment while they're back there talking about whatever Carly had said earlier. He said that he tattooed Keisha's name on his southern region. Like, that's a thing? Like, we do that? Was he lying, y'all? Y'all think he was lying? I hope he was lying. So now it's the next day in the cabin, and I did like this. Kirk and Rashida wanted the couples to go around the table and tell something good that they liked about their spouse and something bad, that they didn't like about their spouse. And so I did like that. But the one thing that stood out to me was that Bambi and Scrappy complimented each other on their parenting, which actually has nothing to do, in my opinion, with their relationship. I feel like that was a cop-out. So maybe there's a little bit of tension there as well. And so another thing that happens on this cabin trip is Carly gets called out on her mess, okay? They kind of just take inventory on who has started the drama and that's gotten this trip off to such a rocky start, and all roads lead back to Carly Red. But Arkansas Mo shows up too, and Carly's just out, like she's not with it. She don't want to be with him anymore. But then there's this post. The thing that sounded weird to me was when Carly was like, I can't breathe unless you tell me to breathe. I can't eat unless you tell me to eat. Something to that effect. And I was like, that sounds extreme. I don't know. I was like, is this an abusive situation? But they're back together, so I guess not. And back in Atlanta, Moniece is making her one gift to Akbar prior to her departure from Atlanta is carrying that bone back to Tokyo. Like, I didn't think that that was necessary, but Tokyo just kind of laughed at it. She was just like, you know, whatever. And I appreciated that because it don't have to be drama all the time. And I would say probably the last major thing in this episode is when Rashida admits to cheating, which A, do we even believe that? And then B, if she did cheat, it didn't result in a baby, right? So she at least cared enough to protect herself, we can assume. And then Sierra is clearing out her skeletons, letting BK know, you know, in light of this whole Pooh situation and I guess trying to reset. And so she admits to BK that those DMs that he saw in her inbox a while ago, that it was something. And so, but we don't get to see how that's going to end. Tell me what you think about that whole Pooh and Shay Max situation, what they did to Carly. I want to know it all. And don't leave nothing out. And last but not least, let's talk Little Women Atlanta. And so I'll just be honest. I am super new to this franchise. I'm super new to watching this show. And so I'm really tuning in because Juicy is an Atlanta radio personality whom I love. And so I just want to see what she's doing on this TV show. What is the issue between Juicy and Minnie? Can somebody please fill me in? I'm like, I know this is not all over Minnie starting a podcast. And I mean, and I do get it with her trying to steal the twins from Juicy, because I mean, that's not cool. But it feels like there's so much more to it. So could somebody please fill me in on that? Another question that I had was, what's the twins' issues with the cheeks? I mean, I can't figure it out. It just seems like there's so much animosity. I will also say this. I think her name is Emily. I get it. Like, she's pregnant, so her hormones are probably a little off. But she just comes off as like super mean-spirited. And what is that about? Like, she's not trying to let her sister make any decisions. She just feels like she's the smartest and they have the most followers and they have this and they have that and they are so much better than everybody. But outside of followers, what do they have? Her sister would probably be better off trying to go solo. She's way more humble and way more prepared to do whatever it takes. Also, can somebody tell me why would street execs want for them to do an LP together or a mixtape versus just releasing the tracks individually and seeing who won based off of like likes or streams or whatever? I'm trying to figure out the business behind it. Is it just trying to test and see if there's a market for it, period? That's pretty much the only thing I could come up with that. And then, should you shoot a video when you don't own the rights? Like, what's the point in that? So I guess I can't even really do an accurate recap of Little Women because I just have so many initial questions tuning in this season. And so hopefully I will get a chance to watch old episodes and catch up. But I did enjoy seeing Minnie and Moni Love do the podcast. I did like seeing that. And I did like seeing this little date that they had her set up on. I mean, I would really love to know if they are still dating or if that's even gone anywhere. And I definitely wanted to close out with acknowledging the Braxtons and the recent deaths that their family has experienced. On the show right now, we are watching Trina live through Gabe, her ex-husband's passing. And then actually right now in real life, their niece just passed away from a previous or a heart condition. And so I just wanted to take a second and acknowledge them and their loss and offer my condolences, as well as just say, like, there's really not a lot going on with the show per se. And so I don't really have a recap. Tawanda is dating, so we meet her guy. We see Tamar's guy, who I know you guys have already seen all over the internet. I'm happy as long as she's happy. We know that she's done Big Brother already. We know that she won. So a lot of it has already been in the media. And so that about wraps it up for this week. So once again, thank you so much for watching. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'll see you there. Bye. This video has been Quinniee B approved. Thanks for watching. But don't stop there. Let's head on over to Instagram and Twitter and keep the conversation going. I'll meet you there. Bye-bye.